Oh, we're live. Okay. So,
We're live. And we're talking about Miami weather, right?
I wish things were going on better than,
The weather sucks, and every time I look outside, it's snowing. We were shoveling a little bit yesterday, shoveling again today. I'm like, what the hell?
exactly. But,
I'm just tired of this crap.
wish I knew how to use this like your boy did. Yeah, I wish we had better news to talk about than leaky basements. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. Well, there's a lot of them right now in Bolton, right? They had that massive flood out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was recent. I saw the headline.
Yeah. I was watching that yesterday. They had was it 85 homes that were evacuated or 100?
Right. Gee, that's not that bad. You know, do you remember the Brantford evacuation? That wasn't that long ago?
I remember that.
That was not that long ago. Everyone was evacuated. I think it was in the thousands.
Yeah. Well, my neighbor is going to be pretty busy. He owns Burke's Restoration. It's probably one of the biggest restoration companies out there that does stuff like that.
How many crews does he have, though?
I think he's got like 7 different franchises.
Wow.
Huge.
If anyone's looking to start a business, that's probably a good one. Leaky basements.
Yeah, but you know what? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish, too, because a lot of these bigger guys, I mean, his business, I was talking to him today, 90% of it is all through insurance companies. Mm-hmm. He's created those relationships over the years. Mm-hmm. Where he's a Terrion builder, so mm-hmm. I mean, he's rebuilding burnt down homes and all that stuff. But yeah, the leaky basements, all that type of restoration, flood restoration, fire. He does a ton of that. I think he's only got one other bigger competitor, but he's pretty huge.
Right.
He's got like 200 employees. So I keep telling him
he's going to be busy.
I keep telling him I'm the floor guy on the street.
He's going to be busy, but imagine you're going to be busy too. Maybe we should actually hide you. We shouldn't have this conversation. Okay, but yeah. So my email's lit up with requests for referrals on for basement stuffs. I'm seeing it all over social media as well between different groups. People running the leaky basement issues. So let's start with preventative. Actually, let's start with you. I understand. So for anyone who doesn't know, Manny's my general contractor. I don't generally talk about him because we try to avoid the hug of death for Manny. Okay, so let's take a step back. To explain the hug of death is, as much as we love Manny and would love to share him with everyone, he can only handle so much. And same thing with like our property manager. He doesn't want to have to receive 5 phone calls a day from my referrals saying and having to say no to people. Right. That's why we don't share Manny's name or Dave's name on my podcast, for example.
It's never a nice thing to say no, but at the end of the day, there's only so much work you can take to make sure you're servicing those customers well.
Exactly.
And just spread yourself too thin and just create problems.
Right. But so what we're trying to do here is trying to give some people some help on some preventative, what they can do preventatively to prevent basement leaks.
Yeah, and there is a lot of preventative maintenance. I mean, I was at a house just a couple of weeks ago that was just that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is gutters and downspouts and grading around your property. That's probably a huge majority of the issues with water penetration in your basement is grading and downspouts and gutters, especially downspouts beside windows. We had one the other day where the downspout was placed beside an egress window, an older egress window, and during the frost, if the ground freezes over, it's around the window, the downspouts right there. All of a sudden you get a thaw, that water pours in over a garden, back through the window. Well, they can't make it down the weeping tile fast enough because everything's frozen, and up through the window and into the house. Mm-hmm. So that was a simple solution of just removing the downspout itself, moving it probably 50 feet away down to the corner of the house, and problem solved. But your downspouts should be, like your water should be out 4 feet away from your property, all corners of your house, so a minimum of 4 feet. So those are the biggest issues when it comes to water problems in basements. I mean, there are bigger overlying issues, but a lot of times they can be resolved by simple matter of checking your grading, make sure everything's graded away, and make sure your downspouts, everything is 4 feet away from your property, and hopefully not right onto your next neighbor's property. You got to use your common sense on to where that is. Make sure you're not going to flood his property with that. Right. But,
and you say you should check your property, but you don't even necessarily have to. Pretty much every home inspector checks your property for you for grading.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, unless it's a property you're already at for many years and you don't have that inspection report. Mm-hmm. But yeah, on the most part, if you're buying a new property, your inspector is going to check that anyway. So you're going to have all that information. So it's there in front of you. So it's pretty simple to do. And at that point in time, he's also going to look at everything else, right, as far as foundation cracks and those type of things. So you're going to have the information to prevent that future incident.
Right. I had a listing this past summer, where we had a torrential rain. So we had some, moisture to show up in the basement. And, so I was having a look, I was walking around the property. I was like, oh, the grading's not very good here. So I told my seller, hey, your grading's not very good here. And it's like the source of your wetness in your basement. Did you know about it? He goes, yeah. And I go, okay. He actually sent me the inspection, so I actually looked it up myself and said, yeah, the inspector said you should take care of this grading. You didn't. And you've owned this house for like 6 years. And now you have all these problems while we're trying to sell the house. Right?
It's funny because usually a simple little fix can get blown out of proportion just because you get lazy or you don't think it's going to happen or you don't want to worry about it.
Right.
Until it does happen, all of a sudden it's a huge expense, especially if the water's already in there and already caused damage.
So I'm going to say hi to everybody. Russell, Westcott, Tammy DiTommaso, Brady McDonald, Cherry Chan. Hi, everyone. So let's get specific. What, especially for the beginner who doesn't know what grading means, what is grading and what are you doing specifically to improve it?
So grading is, and if you look at your property and you look at the surrounding area, so the grade, you always want to make sure that it's flowing away from your property, right? So if you're not looking up at the side of the house and you look at your lawn that's sort of flowing into the house, which I've seen a lot of those, just make sure it's flowing away from the house. So in a lot of cases, it's just building up around that area, a good 4 feet around your property. You want to have a good 4 foot area that slopes away from the house. So when it's raining, you want water to flow away. You don't want water to come up to the house. I mean, you see it quite often. It's not a big deal. What it is, because over time, it does get saturated in there. And if your weepers are overwhelmed, you're going to get water in there, right? So it's looking at your property, make sure and everything is sort of on a bit of a downhill slope away from your house. And if you're doing that and if you got your downspouts out shooting 4 feet away from your property, that usually takes care of any of those issues. I mean, unless you have some serious foundation cracks and those things. But usually, like I say, the grading is probably, I'd want to say maybe 80 to 90% of the issues that I've seen is all because of grading. It's a simple fix. I mean, it's a few $100. You got some topsoil and you got some grading. You go to Home Depot and you pick up some downspouts and you make sure they're pointed 4 feet away from your property.
Right.
Now, if you still have got issues after that, then obviously you have to look into it further.
Right. So how much are you talking about as the expense to buy some fill and downspouts?
Probably, depending on how much grade you got to do, but I bet you for $500-600, you probably, if you're doing it on your own, you're gonna buy a lot of topsoil and downspouts, and it's something you can probably do in a weekend.
Exactly.
So it's not a huge job.
Right.
A little bit labor intensive, but you put your sweat into it, and $500-600, you're going to solve your problem instead of having it could be tens of thousands of dollars in flood damage later on. Exactly.
And I want to share a quick story because I had a leak in my basement. I didn't know where it was coming from. So this is when you have a leak, that's too bad. Like, I thought my grading was good. I had a leak in my basement about 4 years ago. There's water in a basement bedroom, finished basement. And then I had someone come. I forget who. It was a referral. He came and looked. And then he said he was quoting me like I think $4,000 to waterproof this small, maybe 10, 12 feet of foundation wall that was near where the water was coming from. And so okay, let me look around some more. And so what I found out what the problem is my deck has a slight grade towards my house. So I have a walkout basement, so my deck is, about 8 feet off the ground. So that part of the deck is slightly sloped towards the house. So when we have a major melt, water will come down the wall and end up in that corner. We had a major snowfall, major melt. And so that was what he suggested. So his suggested fix was $4,000. You know what my suggested fix was? I'll shovel the deck.
I was just going to say that. That makes a big difference if you deck shovels.
Yes. And that saved me $4,000. So I think it's an important tip for everyone is you got to know to look for problems and figure out what the solutions are yourself without asking someone who makes money based on, because, I've heard this said before, you know, the solution is whatever that person's selling.
Yeah.
If you're a plumber, the solution is plumbing. If you're an electrician, your solution is electrical.
Absolutely. We had a house not too long ago that had a leak coming in through foundation wall, what was supposedly a foundation wall, and the laminate flooring was toast. So for those of you who are thinking of laminate flooring in your basements, just stop, especially if they're rentals. Vinyl. Forget the laminate floors. You're going to save yourself a ton of headaches later on. But anyway, we had a foundation guy out there, and I mean, like you said, it's his job to quote foundation work, right? But he gets down there, and we get a quote on what it's going to cost to repair. But decided we're going to look into this even a little bit further. And it was one of our clients' jobs, and I think it was Rob Chain that went out, and we did a moisture reading. And then we found that the slightest drip with a moisture meter in behind a wall where there was a water meter, an existing water meter that was closed up back there. And just that drip alone was creating that issue, you know, over a period of time, a couple of months. But that, just to get back on cost, that was a $300 fix as opposed to his, I think it was $6,500 foundation work. So again, it's, even though you get a guy out there to look at your basement and do quote, like never go with the first guy, right? I mean, get a couple of different opinions from a couple of different companies because sometimes it could be something very simple where you're not digging up outside. I mean, it's pretty costly.
Right. So what have you seen? Have you seen anything recently for like an actual legitimate basement leak where what grading wasn't the issue?
Yeah, we've got one. It's very minor, and they've got foundation cracks on the interior of the wall. Now, the good thing is it's not a block wall. It's actually concrete foundation wall. That's going to be a pretty simple fix from the inside as opposed to digging outside. Right? That's where you drill these little pilot holes every 6 to 8 inches, and you put a port in it, like a plastic port. They do have steel ports now. And you just inject the polyurethane into that expands to 20 times its original size. So that gets everything. And that's not an expensive fix, as opposed to digging outside. So I think there's 3 or 4 of them down there. We've already repaired them.
Right.
And it was probably $300 or $400 a crack. It was probably $1,500 or $1,600 just to do that.
Right.
Which is not too bad because if we looked at the exterior of the wall, we'd probably be looking at, you know, it's a pretty long wall, maybe $7,000 or $8,000.
Right. So then where does the water go in that case where you're fixing the crack? Does the water just stay outside the property and just go below the house?
Outside of it, yeah, because it actually spans inside and just covers every cranny of that crack, so it's got nowhere to go after that, so it's going to stay outside.
Right.
And again, it's not a lot. It's very, very minor, and if we didn't remove the exterior walls during this renovation, that never would have been caught. It might have been something that you could have got maybe a musty, damp, sort of smelly basement after a couple of years. But nothing that would really, not yet anyway, that you could come in there and say, wow, there's water coming in here. But that may have been a bigger issue later on if we didn't prevent it now. And the customer was almost at the point where he didn't want to spend the $1,500 or $600. I'm like, man,
that's good money spent.
He has 3 or 4 cracks, and he says, well, I don't see any water there now. He says, well, there's nothing there now, but you know what, if something comes in there later, man, you've got finished walls in here, and it's going to be pretty expensive to do it. So just spend the money now, get it done, get it fixed. So he did.
Yeah. And I know my insurance deductible was like $10,000 for like a basement flood. So
that's high.
So that might be sewer backup, but yeah. So just to clarify for folks who aren't familiar with the styles of foundations, a poured concrete foundation those started around the 1970s or so. Is that right, Manny? 80s?
Yeah.
70s. So poured concrete foundation, those started around 1970s, 1980s. And that's and they've improved in their current modern day standard for pouring basements foundations. Before that is block foundation, which leads me to my next question. What would you do then if it's a block foundation, you got cracks?
Yeah, block foundations are pretty tough. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's because of the cavities inside the block. I mean, you could have a leak coming in 20 feet down the wall and the point of entry could be, 20 feet away. You just don't know because it just makes its way through the cavities and it's going to find its least spot of resistance and come out that way. Those are a little bit tougher to do. I don't recommend doing the polyurethane and those. That's very difficult, although it may work somewhat. That's something you're doing either through the exterior, digging up, which is costly, or installing an internal weeper, which actually we just did one of those as well. And it was probably, I'd say 30 to 40% cheaper than doing the exterior foundation. A waterproofing, and a lot of times you're getting into porches and all kinds of stuff that's outside, so it's very costly if you got to remove it, put it back. So in this particular house, we decided to go with an internal weeper. And what that is, for those of you who don't know, is a little trench that's dug up all along the interior perimeter of the block wall. So when the water does come in, it goes into that little trench and it goes into a sump pump pit. So you'd be putting a sump pump pit in and that gets pumped outside. To do that, I think that was about $10,000 or $11,000 on one that was just done in Hamilton.
Right.
To do it internally. So that's one solution.
Right.
I mean, the best solution is always from outside. There's no doubt. I mean, that's the proper way to do it, but that's a pretty expensive way to do it. The internal weepers do work pretty well.
So I wanted to ask about. Hey, King and Beck and Dim, if you're still listening. Hello to Tom Sullivan. Hello, Christine McDonald.
You can see all these people. I can't see them from here.
Yeah, you'll see it after when you log into Facebook. So my own property that we toured, where we had a wet wall, what was the problem there and what was the solution? So, to try to paint a picture for anyone, obviously, well, we have no pictures to show anyone. The seller had told us like this well gets wet and block foundation, which is not bad. It could have been stone and, it could have been a stone foundation, but property is probably 1930s. So it's an old block wall, but there's no slippage. No slippage meaning the blocks have not moved.
No, everything's intact.
Yeah, everything's intact. Yeah. So what was the fix? What's the fix that you recommend for something like that?
That one that we looked at is basically grading, because if you go outside, you can see it's really low in that area. And all the gutters and downspouts are pretty close to the house. So all the water is getting built up there, and over the years, that's what's happened. So that one, I think, is a pretty easy fix where you're just doing a little bit of grading and you're doing, your downspouts and your gutters, and you're going to get away with it there. Because there's no real huge overlying issue right now with it, but you can see that it has come in the past. And there's also a window there that's pretty backed up with weeds and all kinds of stuff, so water's not getting the proper drainage down the weeping tile.
And that's what...
Sorry.
Some advice I would give for... Oh, sorry. Finish your thought. Yeah,
one of the things I always say, too, is to get rid of those downspouts that are going into your weeping tile.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Those can be an overlying issue. You want to get those out, you want to cap them off, and you want to shoot them away from the house. Right? That's the first thing you do when you buy these properties, like, get it out of there. Right. Like the weeping tiles are they're working overtime as it is. They don't need all that extra rain coming off the roof. So get those away from there, because a lot of times we've actually solved problems just by doing that. And it solved the issues in the basement. So, but that one, that's a pretty simple fix on that one.
I want to take a step back, in case for anyone who's listening, some people who may just think, oh, just stick with the concrete, poured concrete foundation, then understand that we're buying houses with a block foundation because that's the style at home we need. That's the 1950s bungalow is the easiest style of house to duplex, to put in the legal basement suite. That's why we can't just pick and choose houses.
No.
Yeah, we're stuck playing this game.
But these houses are great. Like going back to most of these issues are you can prevent them. So there's nothing wrong with the block walls. And of all the ones that we've looked at and that we've worked on together, they're in pretty decent shape.
Mm-hmm.
So they really withstand the test of time. It's just a matter of making sure the homeowner, does the maintenance around the property and make sure the grading is, if the grading is always great and your downspouts are always good,
mm-hmm.
you're not going to have a lot of those issues. So there's no reason to walk away from one of these houses, because they're block walls. And
right.
Like you mentioned, these are the ideal homes for legal duplexes. You can't find,
mm-hmm.
You come up to Barrie where I am and there's not a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
They're all 2-story and you end up having to, create that second entrance,
right.
Which is quite costly.
Right.
And the footprint is a lot smaller because you're dealing with a smaller basement on a 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
So no, these are great homes. And we've seen the odd concrete block wall one, which I was kind of surprised because I, figured, back in the 50s, 60s too, and wow, it's concrete. It's crazy. But, the block ones, there's nothing wrong with them.
Right. That's when you were talking about the downspout in the weeper though, that was a block wall. So I saw this house, the basement was so badly busted, we could actually put our hand into the concrete floor. It had, I don't know, enough water and enough frost that built up that actually pushed up the floor.
Just heaved it all up.
Yeah, heaved it all up about at least 3 or 4 inches off of the rest of the floor. Mm-hmm. And we could put our hand, we could actually take off pieces of concrete floor and actually we could stick our hands in there. Our home inspector was like, take pictures of me. So we hit him, we were holding his camera and he's like he's on the ground, he's sticking his hand in the hole and he's smiling for the camera. And that all because of a downspout tapped into the weeper. Absolutely. So that's like a what? $200 fix?
Yeah. Well, it's not a $200 fix at that point. And
right.
You're breaking up all that concrete floor and redoing it. The only good thing is there's nothing structural about the concrete floor, right? It's the footing that you're worried about. But
yeah, who knows how bad that part was, though?
Yeah, you don't know. Right? You don't know.
Oh, awesome! Sorry to go back to that inner weeper that you did.
Yeah.
The inner weeping system. Was that basement unfinished when you started?
Yes.
See, that's the lucky part. That's why the price was so low, folks.
Yeah. If you're dealing with a finished basement,
so much trouble.
Different ball game now because you're tearing out and you're rebuilding, right? So that's a lot of work. So you don't want to go there. One of the most important things after you get in your home inspection is make sure that it's watertight. Most important thing is your roof. There's no water coming in through the top and there's no water coming in through the bottom. Everything else you can take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 2 major items that you got to look at right away.
Right.
Is your roof and anything in the basement. Like money well spent. Like spend your money there. And as long as your investment is protected, you can work on anything else inside. But those are very important. I've seen investors get really rushed and really excited about getting their place done that they forget about all those things. And, a couple of years later, they've got major water issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at a property to buy, or you're in a property for the first time, say you're quoting on a legal basement job, what are you looking for? What are you looking for when you're looking for problems with the foundation?
Well, number one, cracks in the walls. That's the first thing you're going to inspect is the walls. If you can, and they're very easy to spot. A little hairline crack doesn't mean a lot. It's normal. It does happen, especially around windows. That's where you're originally going to see, or those are the first cracks you're going to see is around the windows. On the corner of the windows, you'll see the crack coming down. So you want to look around for that. You'll look around for, any dampness, any musty odor, those type of things. But signs of water are usually pretty visible. They're not hard to spot. When you do spot them, then you got to figure out, okay, so where's the problem? Is it the crack? Is it the grade? And you do a little bit more research, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually pretty easy to spot, and the cracks are easy to fix. They're not a big deal.
Right. Someone posted on Facebook. I won't name names. He posted on Facebook. He bought a house in Hamilton, and he put up his a tape measure to it. So the foundation wall was 2 inches out of plumb.
Wow.
I know.
That's pretty scary.
So for listeners, understand the foundation wall has moved 2 inches away from being completely like 90 degrees from the ground.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it was moving in.
Yeah, it's heaving in, and again, you can fix them.
Well, that's expensive.
It is, but you know what? I mean, depending on how easy it is to get to. I mean, obviously, the proper fix is to excavate outside and repair that foundation wall. You can also actually repair those walls on the inside. If they're maybe 3/4 of an inch off to an inch off, you can actually repair them with the carbon fiber strips. They're actually glued onto the wall themselves, and there's a fiber that goes on. It's very strong. Anything up to 2 inches, I mean, that's pretty huge, obviously, and there's an issue. But you can also repair those with steel pillars on the inside. So there's steel pillars that go I don't know if it's every 2 feet or 3 feet. They go up vertically, and that's a fix that the wall's never going to go anywhere. So that's just for the option where you can't get outside if you got a big porch or a concrete porch, and you're going to be into thousands to remove it and to replace it. In a lot of cases, you can repair that from the inside.
Those steel posts, how far down do they go?
Well, they don't. They're just bolted onto this particular house, it has a concrete slab on the top and concrete slab on the bottom. So these posts get bolted in the top and bottom. So it just prevents the wall from heaving in.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Oh, we have our first question of the night. I don't know this person. His name is Tony Zuetto or something. Oh, you can't see this stuff.
I don't know that guy.
Anticipating a wet spring. Yeah, you see how I massacred his last name? Anticipating a wet spring. What's the typical lifespan of a sump pump?
Oh, that's a tough question. Depends on the quality of your sump pump.
So actually, that's the next question then. Where would you recommend people buy them from?
A good plumbing supply store. Not so much the Home Depots, but if you go into a good plumbing supply store.
Can you name some?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think of a really big name that I dealt with in the past, and for some reason I can't even think of it now, but they're all over the place.
Amco? Amco, is that one?
No, it's not Amco. It's oh my God.
What, is Amco bad? We're going to get sued.
No. Amco was one of them. But anyway, Amco was one of them. There's a lot of plumbing supplies. They only specialize in plumbing. You're going to get a lot better advice there than you are going to Home Depot where, they're trying to figure out what everything is. But you're talking to a good plumber, another one. But yeah, a good quality one. I mean, it's all about quality.
All right.
Then you can get one for whatever, $50, $60 or one for $200, $300. So it all depends on the quality of the pump that you're getting. And a lot of times with these sump pumps, I know a person who has one at his house, but they've never had any water in their actual sump pit. It's always pretty dry, or it never gets to the level. It actually never gets to the level for the float to kick in. And they think it's a great thing, and it's not, because your pump has to work, right? Because you want that pump to work. So I actually encourage them to put some water there, make sure you're get everything going, right? Get that pump going, because it's just going to sit there forever and everything just seizes up in it. So it's actually good for your sump pump to be working once in a while.
Too funny.
So it's something to know.
So my ex is the daughter of a master plumber, and his advice was also, you should always have a backup on hand. You should always have two. Yeah, because if your sump fails, you don't have much time to deal with it.
What you can do is in a lot of the properties, you got your sump pump that's hooked up to your hydro or whatever, but you can also get the backup that's hooked to battery operated. Yeah. So it's plugged in, it's kept charged. So if yours fails, that one's going to kick.
Oh, but say the motor's gone though.
Well, on two of them?
No, say the motor's gone on one of them, right? Then you don't want to go run into Home Depot and run back.
Right. But in that case, if you've got that backup battery powered one, then you'll be okay until you replace it.
Right. No, I'm saying like your primary, say the motor burns out on it. Then, so you want to have one on hand to replace it with.
Yeah, you could, but again, if you have a battery operated one, you don't have to be rushed out to replace it, right? I mean, you can.
No, I'm saying the existing one. Say the existing pump breaks, the power's still on.
Right.
Say for whatever reason it breaks.
Well, if it does, I see what you're saying. Okay, right. Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to be that critical about it. Yeah, well, water can be a pretty scary thing. It creates a lot of havoc, a lot of damage. It's not pretty.
So I'm going to put it out there one more time. If anyone has questions, go ahead and post it. Otherwise, I'm going to let Manny go, get back to bed. So think happy thoughts about making money.
That's right. It's going to be a long day in Hamilton tomorrow.
So it looks like that's it. Manny mentioned it earlier. People are still putting laminate in their basements, or worse, like engineered hardwood floor, which is even more money than laminate.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Especially in rentals. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen there. And, especially when it's a rental. I mean, a lot of renters are not going to automatically maybe tell you there's something. I mean, I had a massive water bill on one of my properties the other day because the float on the toilet was consistently open.
Yeah.
And, you think they would tell me? No. The city of Barrie told me though, because I had a very unusual, very high water bill. Just replace all the damn toilets and get it over with. But, water damage is horrible. Laminate is not good. It's not a friend of water. So don't use laminate. I mean, we've been using vinyl in a lot of the main floors now on these rentals too, because they're really luxurious looking floors. They're amazing. Like the stuff that they make today is just beautiful flooring. And sometimes you look at it and you can't tell whether it's hardwood or not. I mean, obviously you can't when you step on it,
right.
But it's great flooring. It looks great. It lasts long, and there's a lot of luxury flooring, different colors to choose from. So they're out there. So definitely worth doing the vinyl flooring. Like, don't do the laminate.
I'm not getting a reason why not doing laminate on the main floor. I looked at a flip in Hamilton once, and it was the middle of winter. People aren't always respectful and take their shoes off. That's so right. People left their shoes on, snow covered, tracked snow into this house, brand new laminate floor. So there was probably pools of melted snow all around, and it ruined that laminate floor on that main floor of a brand new flip.
Yeah, for sure.
And that wouldn't happen with vinyl vinyl.
It doesn't take much to ruin the laminate flooring. That's for sure. I mean, there's a lot of nice laminate flooring. That's for sure. But with the products that are made today in the vinyl version, it's unlimitless to what you can pick and put down on. So it's the way to go, especially in a rental. I've seen actually a couple of custom homes that were built and they used vinyl flooring on the main floor, which was quite surprisingly. But I went to look at it, and wow, it was pretty awesome. But they had a lot of kids and they wanted something to, last a long time and not worry about water. So they used vinyl flooring.
Awesome.
And, it was $1.5 million house. So it looked pretty good. So if it's good enough for them, it's got to be good enough on the rental.
Any brands you recommend?
Not really. There's so many different types out there.
Got it.
Depending on your budget. I mean, you can find vinyl flooring from whatever, $1.80 a square foot to $3, $4, $5, $6 a square foot, depending on the thickness. And there's so many different variations of vinyl flooring, just the way they click together, different systems. So you really just got to get out there and look at a product that you like or that you're happy with, or a product based on your budget.
Awesome. Very cool. And then final question before I let you go. I usually invite my guests to promote where people can find them, or if you got a book or something you want to promote. Do you want anyone following up with you? Maybe just your Instagram and Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know where I am, but you can always follow up with me on Facebook, on there, or on Instagram.
All right. What's your Facebook handle and what's your Instagram handle?
Facebook is just my personal name, which is Emmanuel Cabral. I usually post everything on there, even though I got 2 pages for Primo Reno and Primo Investment Properties. I usually just share from my personal Facebook onto there, and the same with Instagram.
Awesome, excellent.
So I'm there.
All right, thank you very much, Manny, for doing this on short notice.
Pleasure as always.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye.